If irony could heat beds, I'd be sunburned by now. Instead, I'm lying here on Egyptian cotton sheets that feel like Arctic tundra, listening to my wife Mira breathe with the rhythm of someone who's mastered the art of pretending to sleep. 4 months of this. 4 months of conversations that end before they begin, dinners eaten in silence, and a marriage that's become colder than a morgue slab. Wait, scratch that last part. Let's just say it's colder than a walk-in freezer. Landon Keyston, that's me. 40 years old, mechanical engineer for the city's water treatment facility. Not glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps the lights on in our upper-middle-class home. Mira always introduces me at parties as my husband, the engineer, with the same tone most people reserve for my accountant, or that guy who fixes my plumbing. She used to say it with pride. Used to. The clock reads 2:17 a.m., and I'm wide awake, staring at the ceiling fan that wobbles just enough to be annoying, but not enough to actually fix. Story of my life lately. Everything's just slightly off-kilter, but not broken enough to demand immediate attention. Mira shifts beside me, and for a moment, I think she might actually turn toward me. Instead, she pulls the covers tighter around herself, creating what I've come to think of as the Great Wall of Cotton. She's built herself a fortress, and I'm definitely not invited inside. 4 months ago, everything changed. Not gradually, not with warning signs I could have spotted if I'd been paying attention. One day we were planning a weekend getaway to the mountains, and the next day she was telling me she needed space to think about us. Space. In a king-size bed. The irony wasn't lost on me. Landon, she'd said that first night, her voice carrying that particular tone that meant the conversation was over before it started. I think it would be better if we just took some time, you know? To figure things out. Figure what out? I'd wanted to ask. We'd been married 8 years. We had a routine, a life, a mortgage. What exactly needed figuring? But I didn't ask. That was my first mistake. Instead, I'd nodded like I understood, like her request made perfect sense, like married couples everywhere just decided to become roommates overnight. I'd moved to the guest room that first week, telling myself it was temporary, that we'd work through whatever this was. The guest room lasted exactly 7 days before she decided that was too dramatic. We could share the bed like adults, she said. Mature adults who were working through their issues. Mature adults. Right. Because nothing says maturity like treating your spouse like a stranger who happens to share your mortgage payments. I roll over and study her profile in the dim light filtering through our blackout curtains. Mira's still beautiful at 37, with that polished look that comes from working in public relations. Her auburn hair is perfectly styled even in sleep, and her skincare routine costs more than my monthly car payment. She's successful, ambitious, and increasingly distant. The distance started small, working late more often, taking calls in the other room, spending weekends at networking events that somehow never seemed to include spouses. When I'd ask about her day, her answers became shorter, more generic. Fine. Busy. You know how it is. Except I didn't know how it was, because she'd stopped telling me. My phone buzzes on the nightstand. A text from Eddie, my best friend since college and the only person who still talks to me like I'm a human being instead of an inconvenience. You awake? Jennifer's book club is still going. They're discussing your situation. Eddie's wife, Jennifer, runs a book club that's really just an excuse for neighborhood wives to drink wine and discuss everyone's business. Normally, I'd be annoyed that my marriage troubles had become entertainment for the local gossip network. Tonight, I'm curious. What are they saying? I type back. You don't want to know. Try me. 3 dots appear, disappear, then appear again. Eddie's choosing his words carefully, which means whatever they're saying isn't good. Jennifer says Mira's been confiding in Sam and Gina. Apparently, she's been telling them you've become emotionally unavailable and that she's exploring her options. Emotionally unavailable. That's rich. coming from someone who's turned our bedroom into Switzerland, neutral territory where nothing interesting ever happens. What kind of options? I ask, though I'm starting to suspect I already know. The kind that involve Darius Hunt. And there it is. The name I've been trying not to think about for weeks. Darius Hunt, Mira's colleague at Valahurst Public Relations. 35, unmarried, drives a BMW that probably costs more than I make in a year. He's one of those guys who wears expensive suits and uses words like synergy in casual conversation. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I've met him exactly 3 times. Once at Mira's company Christmas party, where he spent the entire evening talking about his latest client acquisition while somehow making it sound like he'd personally negotiated world peace. Once at a restaurant where we'd run into him by coincidence, though he seemed awfully prepared with restaurant recommendations for someone who just happened to be in the neighborhood. And once at our house, when he'd stopped by to drop off some files on a Saturday afternoon, wearing casual clothes that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. Each time, I'd gotten the distinct impression that I was interrupting something. Not anything inappropriate, at least nothing I could point to. But there was an energy between them that made me feel like a third wheel in my own life. "Are you sure?" I type, even though I know Eddie wouldn't have brought it up if he wasn't certain. Jennifer heard it straight from Sam. Apparently Mira's been confiding that you two haven't been intimate in months, and that Darius has been such a good listener during her difficult time. I stare at the text until the words blur. Haven't been intimate in months. True, but not exactly the whole story. Hard to be intimate with someone who treats you like you're carrying a contagious disease. There's more, Eddie's next text reads. They're saying she's been staying late at the office a lot, and that Darius has been getting a suite at the Hilton downtown for client meetings. Client meetings? Right, because all the best business gets conducted in hotel suites after midnight. I set the phone down and look at Mira again. She's still facing away from me, but something about her breathing has changed. Too regular, too controlled. She's awake, and she's listening. Long night? I ask quietly. She doesn't respond, but her shoulders tense slightly. Definitely awake. Eddie says the book club is having an interesting discussion tonight. Now she shifts, rolling over to face me. In the dim light, I can see her eyes are open, and they're not happy. You're talking to Eddie about our marriage? Eddie's talking to me about what his wife is hearing from your friends. What's that supposed to mean? I sit up, suddenly tired of playing games. It means maybe you should be more careful about what you tell Sam and Gina if you don't want it getting back to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Darius Hunt ring any bells? Even in the dim light, I can see her face change. The careful mask of sleepy confusion drops, replaced by something harder. Darius is a colleague. A colleague who gets hotel suites for client meetings. That's none of your business. My wife spending time in hotel rooms with other men isn't my business. She sits up now, and I can practically feel the temperature in the room drop another 10 degrees. Nothing is happening with Darius, and even if something was, maybe you should ask yourself why your wife might be looking elsewhere for the attention she's not getting at home. There it is. The accusation I've been waiting for. Somehow, this is my fault. The 4 months of cold shoulders, the late nights at the office, the mysterious text messages she takes in the other room. All my fault for not being attentive enough to someone who's been treating me like furniture. What attention, Mira? When's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time you asked me about my day, or told me about yours? When's the last time you acted like you actually wanted me here? You're being ridiculous. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've already moved on. You're just too much of a coward to make it official. She swings her legs out of bed, standing up with the kind of sharp movement that means this conversation is over. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. Don't bother, I'll go. No. She's already grabbing her pillow. You want to play the victim? Fine. Enjoy your big empty bed. She's at the door when I speak again. Mira. She pauses, but doesn't turn around. If you want out of this marriage, just say so. But stop making me the villain in your story when all I've done is try to figure out what went wrong. For a moment, I think she might actually respond, might turn around, and we'll have the honest conversation we should have had months ago. Instead, she walks out and closes the door behind her. I lie back down and stare at the ceiling fan again. The wobble seems more pronounced now, like the whole thing might come crashing down at any moment. My phone buzzes again. Eddie. How'd she take it? About as well as expected. She's in the guest room now, probably texting Darius about what an unreasonable husband she has. What are you going to do? That's the question, isn't it? What am I going to do? I could pretend I don't know what's happening. I could keep playing the role of the oblivious husband while my wife carries on with her colleague. I could wait for her to work up the courage to ask for a divorce, or I could save her the trouble and ask for one myself. Or I could do something else entirely. I'm going to find out exactly what's going on, I type back. Be careful, man. Sometimes it's better not to know. But Eddie's wrong about that. I need to know. Not just because I suspect my wife is having an affair, but because I need to understand how we got here. How 8 years of marriage turned into 4 months of Arctic silence. How the woman who used to laugh at my jokes and steal my hoodies started looking at me like I was something unpleasant she'd stepped in. I need to know, and then I need to decide what to do about it. The house settles around me with the small creaks and sighs that come with age. We bought this place 5 years ago, back when we were still talking about kids and retirement plans and growing old together. Now it feels like a museum of a marriage that used to exist. I close my eyes and try to sleep, but my mind keeps spinning. Tomorrow, I'm going to start paying attention. Really paying attention. To the late nights, the mysterious phone calls, the way she's been dressing for work lately, to all the little signs I've been ignoring because it was easier than facing the truth. My wife wants to play games? Fine. I'll show her how the pieces move. The next morning arrives with the kind of gray drizzle that makes everything look like a noir film. Appropriate, considering I'm about to start investigating my own wife. Mira's already gone when I wake up. Her coffee cup sits in the sink, lipstick stain on the rim like evidence at a crime scene. She's left no note, no text, no indication of when she'll be home. Standard operating procedure for the past 4 months. I pour my own coffee and settle at the kitchen table with my laptop. If I'm going to do this, I need to be smart about it. Methodical, like approaching any engineering problem, gather data, analyze patterns, draw conclusions. First step, understanding the timeline. When did things really start to change? I pull up our shared calendar, the one we use to actually coordinate our lives. The entries become sparser starting in late January. Fewer shared dinners, fewer weekend plans, more entries on her side labeled work event or client dinner, or the increasingly frequent late meeting. January 28th. Dinner with new team member, Darius. That's the first mention of his name in our calendar. Innocent enough. February 5th. Strategy session, may run late. February 12th. Client presentation prep, Darius. February 19th. Team building dinner. By March, the entries become more vague. Work thing. Meeting. Out late, don't wait up. I cross-reference these dates with my own memories. January 28th was a Friday. She'd come home around 11, slightly flushed, talking about how impressed she was with the new hire's fresh perspective. I'd been happy for her. Mira thrives on intellectual challenges, and her work had been feeling routine lately. February 5th, she'd texted around 9 to say the meeting was running late, then again at 10:30 to say they'd moved to a restaurant to keep working. She'd come home after midnight, claiming they'd lost track of time discussing strategy. I'd believed her. Why wouldn't I? Now, looking at the pattern, it's obvious. Every late night, every weekend work session, every client dinner corresponds with a growing distance between us. The more time she spent with Darius, the less time she wanted to spend with me. My phone rings. Work. I consider ignoring it, but responsibility wins out. Keyston here. Landon, we've got a problem with the filtration system in Sector 3. Can you come in early? I check the clock. 7:30 a.m. Mira's probably not even at the office yet. Give me an hour. Thanks, man. You're a lifesaver. A lifesaver. Right. If only I could save my own marriage as easily as I can fix a water treatment problem. I shower, dress, and head to work, but my mind stays focused on the investigation. I need more than calendar entries and suspicious timing. I need proof. The water treatment facility is a 40-minute drive from our house, which gives me plenty of time to think. The problem in Sector 3 turns out to be a simple sensor malfunction. 15 minutes to diagnose, another 15 to replace the faulty component. The kind of straightforward fix I wish I could apply to my personal life. You seem distracted today, says Mike, my supervisor, as I'm wrapping up the repair. Just some stuff at home. Mike's been married for 23 years. He's got the look of a man who's weathered a few storms and lived to tell about it. Want to talk about it? Not really, but thanks. He nods, understanding. You know where to find me if you change your mind. I finish the paperwork and head home, mind racing with possibilities. If Mira's really having an affair, there will be evidence. Text messages, emails, phone calls. People having affairs get sloppy eventually. They start taking risks, making mistakes. I just need to be patient and observant. Back home, I park in the driveway and notice something I've been overlooking for weeks. Mira's car isn't here, but it should be. She usually works from home on Tuesday mornings, taking calls and handling administrative tasks. Another change in routine I'd failed to notice. Inside, I start a more thorough investigation. Not snooping, exactly. Just paying attention to details I've been ignoring. The laundry basket in our bedroom contains clothes I don't recognize. A black dress that still has tags on it. Expensive lingerie that definitely wasn't purchased for my benefit, considering our current sleeping arrangements. A receipt from a boutique downtown dated last week. $230 for intimate apparel. $230 for underwear. That I've never seen. I photographed the receipt with my phone, then put everything back exactly as I found it. If I'm going to build a case, I need to be careful, methodical, document everything. The bathroom reveals more evidence. A new perfume on her vanity, something called midnight seduction. The bottle is half empty, but I've never smelled it on her at home. New makeup, the expensive kind. A hair appointment card for a salon I've never heard of, scheduled for this afternoon. She's making an effort for someone, just not for me. I'm photographing the appointment card when I hear a car in the driveway. Mira's home early. I quickly replace everything and head downstairs, trying to look casual. She comes through the front door carrying dry cleaning and looking slightly flustered. "You're home early," she says, not quite meeting my eyes. "Sensor problem at work. Fixed it faster than expected. You're home early too." I needed to pick up some things. She hangs the dry cleaning in the hall closet. I catch a glimpse of a red dress I've never seen before, still in the plastic wrap. New dress? For the gala this weekend. The gala. Right. Valahurst Public Relations annual charity event, the company's biggest social gathering of the year, where all the clients and competitors come to see and be seen. Mira's been talking about it for months, back when she used to talk to me about work. "I didn't realize you were still planning to go." She turns to face me, and there's something defensive in her posture. "Of course I'm going. It's important for work." I meant we. I didn't realize we were still planning to go. Oh. She looks genuinely surprised, like the thought of taking her husband to a work event hadn't occurred to her. Do you want to go? Do I want to go? To watch my wife schmooze with clients and colleagues while pretending our marriage isn't falling apart? To make small talk with people who probably know more about her social life than I do? Actually, yes. I do want to go. Sure, it might be fun. She doesn't look like she thinks it will be fun. She looks like I've just complicated her evening considerably. Okay, I'll need to let them know about the change in head count. Change in head count, not, I'll tell them my husband is coming. Not, I'll make sure you're seated with me. A change in head count like I'm a last-minute addition to a catering order. Great, I'll rent a tux. You don't need to rent one. You have that black suit. The black suit I wore to her company Christmas party 3 years ago. The one that's perfectly fine for a Tuesday meeting, but hardly appropriate for the social event of the year. I think I'll rent a tux anyway. Go all out. She shrugs, already losing interest in the conversation. Whatever you want. She heads upstairs, and I hear the shower start running. A long shower, the kind she takes when she's planning to go out, which is interesting, because it's only 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. 20 minutes later, she comes back downstairs wearing the new black dress I'd seen in the laundry basket. It fits her perfectly, accentuating curves I'd almost forgotten she had. She's done something different with her hair, and the new perfume creates a subtle cloud around her. She looks stunning, and she's definitely not dressing up for a Tuesday afternoon at home. Going somewhere special? Just a client meeting. I might be late. Which client? For just a moment she hesitates. It's barely perceptible, but I catch it. The Henderson Group. They're thinking about expanding their PR budget, and Adrian wants me to handle the pitch personally. The Henderson Group. I make a mental note to look them up later. Sounds important. It could be huge for the company, and for my career. She's gathering her things, purse, keys, phone, the new red dress still in its dry cleaning bag. Why are you taking the dress? Another hesitation. I might not have time to come home before the salon appointment. Right. The salon appointment I'm not supposed to know about. She kisses me on the cheek as she heads for the door. A perfunctory gesture, the kind you'd give a roommate or a distant relative. But I catch a whiff of that new perfume, and something about it makes my stomach clench. See you tonight, she says. What time should I expect you? I'm not sure. Don't wait up. And then she's gone, leaving me alone in a house that smells like her new perfume and old secrets. I wait until her car disappears around the corner, then grab my laptop and start researching. The Henderson Group is real, a mid-sized manufacturing company based about an hour outside the city. They do have a website, a legitimate business, even some recent news about expansion plans. But their website lists their current PR firm as Morrison & Associates, a company they've been with for over 5 years. If they were really thinking about switching firms, there would probably be some indication online. Trade publications love to report on account changes in the PR world. I search for any connection between Henderson Group and Valahurst Public Relations. Nothing. No mentions, no shared events, no mutual contacts on LinkedIn. Either this is the most secretive client pitch in PR history, or my wife just lied to me. I'm betting on the lie. I spend the rest of the afternoon doing what I should have been doing for months, actually paying attention. I go through our credit card statements, looking for charges I don't recognize. There are plenty. Restaurants I've never been to, hotels in the city when we live 20 minutes away, shopping trips to stores that don't match anything in her current wardrobe. At least not the wardrobe she wears at home. The hotel charges are particularly interesting. The Hilton downtown, just like Eddie mentioned. 3 different dates in the past month, always charged to her personal credit card, always on nights she claimed to be working late. I photograph everything, building a file that would make a private investigator proud. Part of me feels guilty for being so thorough, so calculating, but the larger part, the part that's been ignored and dismissed for 4 months, feels vindicated. I'm not crazy. I'm not paranoid. My wife is having an affair, and she's not even being particularly careful about hiding it. The question now is what to do with this information. I could confront her directly, lay out all the evidence, and demand an explanation. But I already know how that would go. She'd deny everything, claim I was being paranoid and controlling. She'd turn it around on me, make me the villain for not trusting her. I could hire a private investigator, get professional documentation of her activities, but that feels like overkill. And besides, I'm doing a pretty good job of investigating on my own. Or I could do something else entirely. Something that would give me the upper hand for once in this relationship. I could play the game better than she's playing it. My phone buzzes with a text from Mira. Meeting running late. We'll be home around 11. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. Either this is the longest client pitch in history, or she's not planning to spend the evening discussing PR strategies. I text back, no problem. I'll probably be asleep. Let her think I'm the same oblivious husband I've been for months. Let her get comfortable, careless. People having affairs always get careless eventually, and when they do, I'll be ready. I pour myself a scotch and settle in to wait. Outside, the gray drizzle has turned into a proper rain, drumming against the windows with increasing intensity. It feels like the kind of weather that changes everything, that washes away the old and makes room for something new. Tomorrow, I'll start making some changes of my own, starting with that tux rental. If my wife wants to play games at her company gala, I'm going to make sure it's a night she'll never forget. The tuxedo rental place smells like starch and broken dreams, but the elderly man behind the counter treats formal wear like sacred artifacts. He circles me with a measuring tape and the focused intensity of a surgeon. Special occasion? He asks, marking measurements on a small pad. My wife's company gala, annual charity event. Ah, he nods knowingly. Important to look your best at those things. Never know who you might meet. Truer words have never been spoken. He shows me 3 options: basic black, midnight blue, and what he calls classic elegance in charcoal gray. The basic black is what I would have chosen a week ago. Safe, unremarkable, the kind of tux that helps you blend into the background. Today, I choose the charcoal gray. It's more expensive, more distinctive, and according to the tailor, brings out your eyes. Excellent choice, he says, making final adjustments to the jacket. Your wife will be very impressed. My wife. Right. I leave the rental shop with a pickup time for Saturday afternoon and a strange sense of anticipation. For the first time in months, I'm looking forward to something. Not because I expect to enjoy the evening, but because I'm finally going to stop being a passive observer in my own life. The rest of the week passes in a blur of careful observation and growing certainty. Mira's client meeting on Tuesday lasted until nearly midnight. Wednesday, she worked from home, but spent 2 hours on a phone call in the guest room with the door closed. Thursday brought another late night at the office, and Friday morning she announced she'd be spending the afternoon at the spa to prepare for tomorrow night. Each lie comes easier than the last. She's not even trying to make them believable anymore. Friday evening, I'm reading in the living room when she comes home from the spa, looking like she stepped out of a magazine. Her hair is styled in soft waves, her nails are perfectly manicured, and her skin has that glow that comes from expensive treatments. You look beautiful, I tell her, and mean it. She seems surprised by the compliment, maybe even a little guilty. Thank you. I wanted to look nice for tomorrow. For the Henderson group? She blinks, momentarily confused. What? Will the Henderson group be at the gala, since you're working so hard to land them as a client? Oh, yes. Maybe. I mean, they might send a representative. She's a terrible liar. It would be almost endearing if it weren't so insulting. I'm looking forward to meeting them, I say, and to meeting more of your colleagues. I feel like I don't know enough about your work life these days. Something flickers across her face, Panic, maybe. Or calculation. You know how these events are. Lots of networking, lots of shop talk. You might find it boring. I doubt that. I find your work fascinating. This is partly true. I do find her work interesting, or at least I used to when she shared details about it. But what I find most fascinating right now is watching her try to figure out how to manage me at an event where she's clearly planning to spend time with someone else. Saturday morning brings sunshine and unseasonably warm weather, as if the universe is setting the stage for drama. Mira spends the morning at the salon, getting final touches on her hair and makeup. I use the time to do some additional research on her company and the evening's guest list. Valahurst Public Relations has been in business for 15 years, built from the ground up by Adrian Valahurst and his wife Selene. Adrian handles the business development side, while Selene manages operations and client services. They're a power couple in the local business community, known for their high-profile clients and even higher-profile social events. The guest list for tonight's gala reads like a who's who of the city's business elite. CEOs, politicians, media personalities, and social influencers. The kind of people who can make or break careers with a casual conversation. I study photos from previous galas, getting a sense of the social dynamics. Adrian Valahurst is tall, distinguished, with silver hair and the kind of confident smile that suggests he's never met a problem he couldn't solve. Selene is striking in a different way, sharp cheekbones, intelligent eyes, and an elegant bearing that commands attention. In every photo, they're surrounded by people who clearly want their attention, their approval, their business. It's the kind of environment where ambitious people make career-defining connections, and where marriages come to public endings. I find several photos of Mira from last year's gala, looking radiant in a blue gown, standing with various colleagues and clients. In one photo, she's laughing at something Adrian is saying, her hand resting lightly on his arm. Professional networking, nothing more. But in another photo, taken later in the evening judging by the lighting, she's in what appears to be an intense conversation with a man I don't recognize. Younger than Adrian, well-dressed, leaning in close to hear what she's saying over the noise of the crowd. I zoom in on the image and realize I'm looking at Darius Hunt. The photo is from last year, months before his name appeared in our shared calendar. But there they are, looking like they're sharing secrets in the middle of a crowded ballroom. How long has this been going on? Mira returns from the salon around 3, looking like she's ready for the red carpet. Her hair is styled in an elaborate updo that must have taken hours, and her makeup is flawless. She disappears upstairs to get dressed, and I take that as my cue to pick up the tuxedo. The rental shop owner was right about the charcoal gray. It fits perfectly, and the color does something interesting to my eyes, making them look more blue than gray. I study myself in the mirror and barely recognize the man looking back. For months, I've been feeling invisible, irrelevant, like a supporting character in someone else's story. Tonight, I look like a leading man. When I get home, Mira is in the bedroom putting the finishing touches on her outfit. The red dress from the dry cleaner fits her like it was custom made, which it probably was. She's paired it with jewelry I've never seen before. Diamond earrings that catch the light when she moves, and a necklace that must have cost more than my monthly salary. New jewelry? I ask. Borrowed from Sam. She has such good taste. Another lie, but I let it slide. I'm saving my energy for more important battles. She turns to look at me and stops short. Wow. You look different. Different good or different bad? Just different. I'm not used to seeing you so dressed up. Maybe I should dress up more often. She doesn't respond to that, but I catch her looking at me in the mirror as she puts on lipstick, the same shade of red as her dress, bold and dramatic. What time do we need to leave? I ask. 7. Cocktails start at 7:30. It's already 6:15. She's been timing this carefully, making sure we arrive together but don't have much time to talk beforehand. Another small manipulation in a relationship that's become full of them. Should we take one car or two? She pauses, lipstick halfway to her mouth. One car is fine. You can drive. Interesting. She wants me to drive, which means she's planning to drink tonight. Or she's planning to leave with someone else and needs me to have transportation home. I'm betting on the latter. Great. I'll bring the BMW. We rarely drive the BMW to events. It's our nice car, reserved for special occasions. But tonight feels like a special occasion, even if not for the reasons Mira thinks. The drive to the hotel takes 25 minutes through downtown traffic. Mira spends most of it checking her phone and adjusting her makeup in the visor mirror. She's nervous, though she's trying to hide it. Anything I should know about tonight? I ask, as we pull into the hotel's circular drive. People I should meet? Topics I should avoid? Just be yourself, she says, which is probably the first honest thing she's said to me all week. The hotel's ballroom has been transformed into something out of a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over round tables draped in white linen, and massive flower arrangements create intimate conversation areas throughout the space. A jazz quartet plays softly in one corner while servers circulate with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. It's beautiful, elegant, and exactly the kind of place where dramatic scenes unfold. Mira immediately starts working the room, introducing me to colleagues and clients with practiced ease. She's in her element here, confident and charming, the woman I fell in love with 8 years ago. For a moment, I almost forget why we're here. Then I see him. Darius Hunt stands near the bar, wearing a perfectly tailored black tuxedo and the kind of smile that suggests he owns the world. He's talking to an older couple, but his eyes keep scanning the room. When they land on Mira, his smile becomes more genuine, more intimate. He's been waiting for her. "Excuse me," Mira says to the group we're talking with. "I should go say hello to some of the other team members." She doesn't invite me to come with her. Instead, she moves across the room toward Darius with the focused intention of a heat-seeking missile. I watch from a distance as they greet each other. Nothing inappropriate. A handshake, a professional smile, the kind of interaction you'd expect between colleagues. But there's something in their body language, a familiarity that goes beyond professional courtesy. Landon Keyston, right? I turn to find a tall, distinguished man with silver hair extending his hand. Adrian Valhurst himself. "Mr. Valehurst, thank you for including me tonight." "Please, call me Adrian, and thank you for coming. Mira's told me so much about you." Has she? I wonder what version of me exists in Mira's work stories. All good things, I hope. Of course. She's very proud of your work with the city. Infrastructure is the backbone of civilization, you know. Without engineers like you, the rest of us couldn't function. He seems genuine, which surprises me. I'd expected someone more polished, more artificial. But Adrian Valehurst has the easy confidence of someone who doesn't need to impress anyone. That's kind of you to say. Mira's always been the impressive one in our family. She's certainly talented, one of our rising stars, very dedicated to her work. Dedicated, that's one word for it. Sometimes I think she's too dedicated, I say, testing the waters. She's been working so many late nights lately, I barely see her. Adrian's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his eyes. A flicker of, what? Concern? Suspicion? The PR business can be demanding, he says carefully, especially when you're handling high-profile clients, but we try to maintain work-life balance for our team. Of course, I'm sure the Henderson Group project is keeping her busy. Now, I definitely have his attention. His eyebrows raise slightly, and he tilts his head. The Henderson Group. Mira mentioned she's been working on a pitch for them. Sounds like a significant opportunity. Adrian is quiet for a moment, and I can practically see him processing this information. Yes, he says finally. Significant, indeed. But his tone suggests he has no idea what I'm talking about. which means either Mira is working on a project so secret that even the company owner doesn't know about it, or she's been using the Henderson Group as cover for something else entirely. Adrian, there you are. A woman approaches us with the kind of graceful confidence that stops conversations. She's tall, elegant, with dark hair swept into a sophisticated chignon and eyes that seem to take in everything at once. This has to be Selene Valahurst. Selene, I'd like you to meet Landon Keyston, Mira's husband. She extends a perfectly manicured hand, and when I shake it, her grip is firm and surprisingly warm. Mr. Keyston, what a pleasure to finally meet you. Mira has mentioned you, of course, but she didn't mention how handsome you are. There's something in her tone, a slight emphasis on certain words, that makes me think she's sending a message. But what kind of message? The pleasure is mine, Mrs. Valehurst. This is an incredible event. Please call me Selene, and thank you. We try to make it special. It's important to celebrate success, don't you think? Absolutely. She's studying me with the kind of intense focus that makes me feel like I'm being evaluated for something. Not unpleasantly, but definitely thoroughly. Adrian, would you mind if I borrowed Mr. Keyston for a moment? I'd love to show him the silent auction items. Adrian nods, though he looks slightly puzzled by his wife's interest in me. Of course. Landon, enjoy the rest of your evening. Selene takes my arm with casual familiarity, as if we've known each other for years instead of minutes. Walk with me, she says, and somehow it doesn't sound like a request. We move through the ballroom, past clusters of people engaged in animated conversation. I'm aware that we're attracting attention. Heads turn as we pass, and I catch fragments of whispered conversations. Who is that with Selene? Isn't that Mira's husband? What's she doing with him? Selene seems oblivious to the attention, or maybe she's just used to being watched. She guides me to a quieter area near the auction display, where we can talk without being overheard. You're not what I expected, she says without preamble. What did you expect? Someone more ordinary. Mira always talks about you like you're furniture, useful, reliable, but not particularly interesting. The casual cruelty of this statement takes my breath away. Not because it's untrue, but because it's exactly how I've been feeling for months. That's honest. I believe in honesty. It saves time. She studies me for a moment. But looking at you now, I think Mira might be underselling you. Or maybe I've just been underperforming. She smiles at this, and it transforms her entire face. Suddenly, she's not just elegant, she's captivating. We all underperform sometimes. The question is what we do about it. Before I can respond, she takes my hand. Come, let me introduce you to some people. And just like that, we're moving through the ballroom again. But this time, everything is different. Selene Valahurst holding my hand is apparently a significant social signal, because the attention we're attracting has intensified dramatically. I catch a glimpse of Mira across the room, standing with Darius near the bar. She's staring at us, with an expression I haven't seen in months. Shock, confusion, and something that might actually be jealousy. For the first time in 4 months, my wife is paying attention to me. And the evening is just getting started. Selene Valahurst moves through the ballroom like a queen holding court, and somehow I've become her chosen escort for the evening. She introduces me to CEOs, city council members, and media personalities with the kind of casual authority that suggests these introductions matter. This is Landon Keyston, she says to each group. He's the engineer who keeps our city's water running. Brilliant man and far more interesting than his wife gives him credit for. Each introduction lands like a small explosion. I can see the calculations happening behind people's eyes. Why is Selene Valahurst championing this unknown man? What does she know that they don't? More importantly, where is his wife, and why isn't she here defending her territory? You're enjoying this, I observe as we move from one group to another. Immensely. Social dynamics fascinate me. People think business is about spreadsheets and profit margins, but it's really about understanding human nature. And what does human nature tell you about tonight? She pauses near a massive floral arrangement, using it as cover for a more private conversation. It tells me that your wife is making some very poor choices, and that you're finally ready to stop pretending you don't notice. The directness of this statement should surprise me, but somehow it doesn't. Selene Valahurst strikes me as someone who doesn't waste time on subtlety. What makes you think that? Because you're here with me instead of following her around like a lost puppy, and because you asked Adrian about the Henderson group. So she knows about that conversation. Interesting. You know there is no Henderson group project. I know that Mira has been using our conference rooms for personal phone calls, taking long lunches that don't appear on her calendar, and generally behaving like someone who thinks she's smarter than everyone around her. You've been watching her. I watch everyone. It's part of running a successful business. And lately, Mira's behavior has been concerning. We're interrupted by the sound of someone clearing their throat. I turn to find Darius Hunt standing behind us, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Mrs. Valehurst, Landon. He nods at each of us with the kind of forced politeness that barely conceals hostility. Mira asked me to let you know that dinner is about to be served. How thoughtful of her, Selene replies with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. And how is Darius this evening? Enjoying yourself? Very much. It's always a pleasure to attend these events. I'm sure it is. Tell me, how are things with your current client portfolio? Staying busy? There's something predatory in her tone that makes Darius shift uncomfortably. Quite busy, yes. Always new challenges to tackle. Challenges? Yes, I imagine there are. She turns to me. Darius handles some of our more specialized accounts, the kind that require discretion and careful handling. Sounds interesting, I say. What kind of specialized work? Darius looks like he'd rather undergo root canal surgery than answer this question. Just standard client services. Nothing too exciting. Oh, I think you're being modest, Selene interjects. Some of your recent projects have been quite exciting, haven't they, Darius? The tension between them is thick enough to cut with a knife. Clearly, there's history here that I'm not privy to. We should probably find our table, Darius says, obviously eager to escape. Of course. Landon, shall we? Selene takes my arm again, and we follow Darius toward the dining area. I notice that he leads us not to the table where Mira is sitting, but to a different table entirely, one where Selene and Adrian are seated. I took the liberty of having you move to our table, Selene explains quietly. I thought you might enjoy more stimulating dinner conversation. At the Valahurst table, I'm introduced to a federal judge, the CEO of the city's largest bank, and a woman who apparently owns half the real estate downtown. The conversation ranges from municipal politics to international business trends, and for the first time in months, I feel intellectually engaged. More importantly, I have a perfect view of Mira's table, where she's sitting between Darius and a man I don't recognize. She keeps glancing over at our table with an expression that grows more troubled as the evening progresses. Your wife seems distracted, observes the federal judge, following my gaze. She's probably just focused on work. These events are important for networking. Indeed they are, says Selene, though some people confuse networking with other activities. The judge raises an eyebrow at this comment, and I realize that Selene is not just making conversation. She's planting seeds, creating doubt, establishing a narrative. Halfway through dinner, Mira excuses herself from her table and approaches ours. She's smiling, but there's steel behind her eyes. Selene, thank you so much for taking care of Landon tonight. I hope he hasn't been boring you with engineering stories. On the contrary, Selene replies smoothly, he's been absolutely fascinating. We were just discussing the infrastructure challenges facing growing cities. Landon has some brilliant insights. How wonderful. Mira's smile becomes more strained. Landon, I was hoping we could dance. They're about to start the music. Before I can respond, Selene speaks up. Actually, I was hoping to steal him for one more conversation with the mayor. She's very interested in his thoughts on the new water treatment expansion. The mayor can wait, Mira says, her tone sharpening slightly. Can she? She's leaving early tonight, and this might be our only chance to discuss the project. The two women stare at each other across the table, and I realize I'm witnessing a power struggle that has nothing to do with mayors or water treatment projects. Of course, Mira says finally, business comes first. But as she turns to leave, she catches my eye, and her expression is unmistakable. We will talk about this later. Nicely handled, I tell Selene once Mira is out of earshot. I told you I find social dynamics fascinating. Your wife is trying to reassert control, but she's operating from a position of weakness. Weakness? She can't publicly claim you without acknowledging that she's been neglecting you, and she can't make a scene without damaging her professional reputation. She's trapped by her own choices. The band starts playing, and couples begin moving on to the dance floor. I watch Mira return to her table, where Darius immediately stands and offers his hand. They move onto the floor together, and I have to admit they look good together, natural, comfortable, like they've done this before. Would you like to dance? Selene asks. I should warn you, I'm not much of a dancer. Neither was Fred Astaire when he started. Come on. She stands and extends her hand, and once again, I find myself following her lead. On the dance floor, she's as graceful as I expected, guiding me through steps I barely know with patient expertise. You're better than you think, she says as we move to the music. You're a good teacher. I've had practice. Adrian used to have 2 left feet. I glance over at Adrian, who's dancing with the real estate mogul and looking perfectly competent. Hard to believe. People can change when they're motivated to. The question is, what motivates them? We're close enough now that I can smell her perfume, something expensive and subtle that's nothing like Mira's new midnight seduction. This is sophisticated, complex, the kind of scent that draws you in rather than announcing itself. What motivates you? I ask. Excellence, success, the satisfaction of winning. Winning what? She smiles, and there's something almost predatory in the expression. Everything. The song ends and we separate, but she keeps hold of my hand as we leave the dance floor. Around us, I'm aware of conversations pausing, heads turning, whispers starting. People are talking, I observe. Good. Let them talk. We return to our table, where the other guests are clearly eager to know what's happening, but too polite to ask directly. The federal judge attempts subtlety. You two dance beautifully together. Thank you, Selene replies. Landon is full of surprises. I catch sight of Mira across the room. She's no longer dancing with Darius, but standing near the bar, looking like she's seen a ghost. Our eyes meet across the crowded ballroom, and for a moment, the noise and activity around us fades away. She starts walking toward our table with determined steps, but before she can reach us, the evening's program begins. The lights dim, and Adrian takes the stage to deliver remarks about the charity they're supporting tonight. Mira stops halfway across the room, trapped by social convention. She can't interrupt the speech, can't make a scene while her boss is speaking. She's forced to stand there and watch as Selene leans over to whisper something in my ear. Your move, Selene says quietly. And I realize she's right. For months, I've been reacting to Mira's choices, trying to figure out what went wrong, attempting to fix something that was already broken. Tonight, for the first time, I'm making choices of my own. The question is, what do I choose to do next? Adrian's speech concludes to enthusiastic applause, and the evening begins winding down. Some guests head to the bar for nightcaps, Others gather in small groups for final conversations, and a few couples return to the dance floor for slower, more intimate music. Mira finally reaches our table, but before she can speak, Selene stands. Landon, would you walk me to the ladies' room? I have something I'd like to discuss with you privately. It's not really a request, and we both know it. Mira's face goes through several expressions: surprise, anger, and something that might actually be panic. Actually, Mira says quickly, I was hoping Landon and I could step outside for some air. It's been such a long evening. Has it? Selene asks with mock concern. You look like you've been having a wonderful time, especially during your dance with Darius. You two move so well together. The comment lands like a slap. Mira's cheeks flush, and for a moment, she looks genuinely rattled. Darius is a colleague. We were just being social. Of course. How professional of you. The word professional hangs in the air like an accusation. Around our table, the other guests are pretending not to listen while hanging on every word. Selene, I say, stepping into the tension. Perhaps we could continue this conversation another time. It's getting late. You're absolutely right. How thoughtful of you. She turns to Mira with a smile that could freeze champagne. Mira, thank you for sharing your husband with us tonight. He's been absolutely delightful company. Sharing your husband. The phrase is perfectly innocent and completely loaded at the same time. Yes, well, we should probably be going, Mira says stiffly. Of course. Landon, it's been a pleasure. I do hope we'll have a chance to continue our conversation soon. She kisses me on both cheeks, European style, while maintaining eye contact that suggests this evening is far from over. As Mira and I walk toward the exit, I'm aware of the conversation starting up behind us. By tomorrow, tonight's events will be the talk of the city's business community. The story will grow in the telling, becoming more dramatic and scandalous with each retelling. Mira doesn't speak until we're in the car, and even then she waits until we're out of the hotel parking lot. What the hell was that about? What was what about? Don't play dumb with me, Landon. Selene Valahurst was all over you tonight. She was being friendly, introducing me to people, including me in conversations. You know, the things a host does at social events. That wasn't hosting. That was something else entirely. What are you suggesting? She's quiet for a moment, and I can practically hear her trying to figure out how to voice her suspicions without sounding hypocritical. I'm suggesting that her behavior was inappropriate, and yours wasn't much better. My behavior? I had conversations. I danced one dance. I was polite to our hosts. What exactly did I do wrong? You know what you did. But the truth is, I don't think she can articulate what I did wrong without acknowledging what she's been doing for months. And she's not ready to have that conversation yet. We drive the rest of the way home in silence, but it's a different kind of silence than we've had for months. This isn't the cold, distant quiet of two people who have nothing to say to each other. This is the charged silence of two people who have too much to say and don't know where to start. At home, Mira disappears upstairs immediately, claiming she needs to remove her makeup and get ready for bed. I pour myself a scotch and settle in the living room, replaying the evening's events. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Thank you for a lovely evening. I meant what I said about continuing our conversation. S. I stare at the message for a long moment before responding. Thank you for including me. It was enlightening. I thought you might find it so. Sleep well, Landon. I delete the conversation and finish my scotch, but I don't feel like sleeping. Instead, I feel like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down into dark water, trying to decide whether to jump. Upstairs, I can hear Mira moving around the bedroom, but she doesn't call for me to come up. Another small signal in a marriage that's become all about signals and subtext. Tomorrow, we'll have to talk about tonight, about what happened, what it means, and what we're going to do next. But for now, I'm content to sit in the quiet house, thinking about the way Selene Valahurst smiled when she said she was motivated by winning. and wondering what exactly she thinks she's won. Sunday morning arrives with the kind of bright sunshine that makes secrets harder to hide. I wake up on the living room couch, still wearing my dress shirt from last night, with a crick in my neck and the taste of regret in my mouth. Upstairs, I can hear the shower running. Mira's getting an early start, which probably means she's planning to spend the day somewhere other than home. Another Sunday, another convenient excuse to avoid the conversation we should have had months ago. I make coffee and check my phone. 3 missed calls from Eddie, 2 text messages from numbers I don't recognize, and 1 email from Selene Valhurst with the subject line, "Thank you." I open the email first. Landon, thank you again for such an engaging evening. I hope you enjoyed meeting some of our city's business leaders. I'd love to continue our conversation about infrastructure development over lunch this week. Are you available Wednesday? Best regards, Selene, Infrastructure Development. Right. Because that's definitely what we were discussing when she was holding my hand and leading me around the ballroom like a prize she'd won. The text messages are from people who were at the gala last night, acquaintances I barely know who are suddenly very interested in my social life. Great to meet you last night. Coffee soon? Selene seemed very impressed with you. Lucky man. Word travels fast in this city's business circles. By noon, everyone who matters will know that Mira Keaston's husband made quite an impression at the Valhurst Gala. The question is whether that's good news or bad news for my marriage. I'm leaning toward bad news. The shower stops running, and a few minutes later, Mira appears in the kitchen wearing jeans and a sweater. Casual clothes, but she's still wearing the expensive jewelry from last night. The diamond earrings catch the morning light as she moves around the kitchen, avoiding eye contact. Coffee? I offer. I'll get my own. She pours herself a cup and adds cream with the precise movements of someone who's buying time while figuring out what to say. We need to talk, she finally announces. I agree. About last night, about what happened with Selene. What about it? She turns to face me and I can see she's been thinking about this conversation all night. Her arguments are prepared, her strategy planned. What you did was embarrassing. For both of us. What did I do? You let her parade you around like some kind of trophy. You danced with her. You hung on her every word. You acted like you were more interested in her than in your own wife. When was the last time you were interested in me? The question stops her cold. She opens her mouth to respond, then closes it again. That's not the point. Isn't it? You've been treating me like I'm invisible for months. You work late. You take mysterious phone calls. You spend weekends at networking events that somehow never include me. But the moment another woman pays attention to me, suddenly you're concerned about our marriage. This isn't about other women. This is about you making a fool of yourself in front of my colleagues. Your colleagues seem to think I was perfectly charming. Selene was using you. For what? She hesitates, and I realize she can't answer that question without revealing how much she knows about office politics and social dynamics that she's never shared with me. I don't know what her game is, but she has one. Selene doesn't do anything without calculating the angles. Maybe she was just being nice to someone she'd never met before. Selene Valhurst is never just nice. Everything she does serves a purpose. And what purpose would paying attention to me serve? Again, she can't answer without admitting things she's not ready to admit. Look, she says, changing tactics. I know things have been difficult between us lately. I know we need to work on our communication, but last night wasn't the way to handle it. How should I have handled it? By sitting quietly in the corner while you spent the evening with Darius? Darius is a colleague. So you keep saying, but colleagues don't usually share hotel rooms. The words hang in the air between us like an unexploded bomb. Mira's face goes through several expressions: surprise, panic, calculation, and finally, defiance. What are you talking about? The Hilton downtown, 3 different occasions last month. always charged to your personal credit card, always on nights you claim to be working late. You've been checking my credit card statements? I've been trying to figure out why my wife has become a stranger. Those hotel charges are for client meetings. Sometimes we need neutral locations for sensitive discussions. With the Henderson Group? Among others. Mira, there is no Henderson Group project. I asked Adrian about it last night. For just a moment, her composure cracks completely. I see fear in her eyes, real fear, before the mask slides back into place. You discussed my work with Adrian at a social event? I mentioned that you'd been working hard on the Henderson Group pitch. He seemed confused. He was probably just being discreet. Not all client relationships are public knowledge. But her voice lacks conviction now. She's scrambling, trying to maintain a lie that's falling apart in real time. Mira, just tell me the truth. Are you having an affair with Darius? The question sits between us like a loaded gun. She could end this right now with a simple denial, a plausible explanation, even a believable lie. Instead, she does something I don't expect. She starts crying, not the dramatic, manipulative tears I might have expected, but quiet, genuine sobs that seem to come from somewhere deep inside her. She sits down at the kitchen table and puts her head in her hands. I don't know, she whispers. You don't know if you're having an affair? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I want. I don't know how we got here. It's the most honest thing she's said to me in months, and it breaks something inside me that I didn't know was still intact. I sit down across from her and wait for her to continue. It started as just friendship. Darius is new to the city, doesn't know many people. I was showing him around, introducing him to clients, helping him get established. And then it became something else. I don't even know when it happened. One day we were talking about work, and the next day we were talking about everything. Our dreams, our disappointments, our fears. The things married people usually talk to each other about. Yes. She looks up at me with red-rimmed eyes. The things we stopped talking about. When did we stop talking? I don't know. Gradually, I guess. Life got busy, work got stressful, and we just drifted. And Darius filled the gap. He listened to me, really listened. When I talked about wanting to advance my career, he didn't tell me to be patient or practical. When I complained about feeling stuck, he didn't tell me to be grateful for what I had. Did I do that? Sometimes. Not intentionally, but yes. I think back over the past year, trying to remember conversations where I might have dismissed her ambitions or minimized her frustrations. They're there, scattered through dozens of discussions about work and life and the future. Small moments where I'd chosen pragmatism over support, caution over encouragement. So you turned to him instead of talking to me about it. It wasn't planned. It just happened. The hotel rooms just happened too. She's quiet for a long moment. We've been close, but we haven't crossed certain lines. What lines? We haven't slept together. But you've wanted to. Yes. The simple honesty of that admission hits harder than any lie would have. She's wanted to sleep with another man. She's been planning it, preparing for it, buying expensive lingerie and booking hotel rooms. Are you in love with him? I thought I was. I thought I was falling in love with him and falling out of love with you. Thought? Last night changed things. How? She wipes her eyes with a napkin and looks at me directly. Seeing you with Selene, seeing other people respond to you, seeing you confident and charming and interesting, it reminded me of who you really are, who we used to be together. And now? Now I'm confused. I don't know if what I feel for Darius is real, or if it's just escape from the problems we've been avoiding. What kind of problems? Communication problems, intimacy problems, the feeling that we've become roommates instead of partners. She's right about all of it. We have become roommates, sharing space and expenses, but not dreams or fears or real intimacy. The question is whether that's fixable, or whether too much damage has been done. What do you want to do? I ask. I don't know. What do you want to do? I want to understand how we got here. I want to know if there's anything left worth saving. Is there? You tell me. Last night when you saw me with Selene, what did you feel? Jealous, angry, scared. Scared of what? Scared that I was losing you. Scared that I'd thrown away 8 years of marriage for something that might not even be real. And now? Now I think we need to figure out whether we can fix this or whether we're just postponing the inevitable. My phone buzzes with a text message. Selene. I hope you're having a peaceful Sunday morning. Don't forget about lunch Wednesday. I show the message to Mira. Her face hardens as she reads it. You're having lunch with her? She invited me to discuss infrastructure development. That's not what she wants to discuss. What does she want to discuss? You, me, the fact that she now has leverage over one of her employees. Leverage. If I'm having marital problems, it affects my job performance. If my husband is getting involved with my boss's wife, it affects my professional relationships. Either way, Selene wins. You think she planned this? I think Selene Valahurst doesn't do anything without a reason. And I think you're about to become a pawn in whatever game she's playing. What if I cancel the lunch? Then she'll know she has power over both of us. And if I go? Then you're playing a game you don't understand against someone who's much better at it than you are. We sit in silence for a moment, both of us processing the complexity of the situation we've created. Mira, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Okay. Do you want to save our marriage? She's quiet for a long time, staring out the kitchen window at our backyard, where we used to talk about planting a garden and maybe building a deck for entertaining friends. I want to save it, she says finally. That's not the same thing. No, it's not. Then maybe we should talk to someone, a counselor, a therapist, someone who can help us figure out if there's anything left to work with. And in the meantime, you need to decide what you're going to do about Darius, and I need to decide what I'm going to do about Selene. Are you attracted to her? The question surprises me with its directness. She's an attractive woman. That's not what I asked. Yes, I'm attracted to her. Are you going to do anything about it? That depends. On what? On whether my wife is planning to keep having an emotional affair with her colleague. We stare at each other across the kitchen table, both of us recognizing that we've reached some kind of turning point. The lies are out in the open now, the pretense is gone, and we're left with the messy reality of a marriage that's been broken for months. I'll end things with Darius, she says finally. Will you? If you'll give us a real chance to fix this, not just going through the motions, but actually working on our problems. And if I have lunch with Selene, then I'll know where your priorities are. It's an ultimatum, but not an unreasonable one. She's asking me to choose between exploring whatever's happening with Selene and trying to rebuild what's left of our marriage. The smart choice is obvious. Cancel the lunch, make an appointment with a marriage counselor, and put in the hard work of rebuilding trust and communication. But as I look at my wife across the table, beautiful, complicated, unfaithful Mira, I realize I'm not feeling particularly smart right now. I'm feeling angry, hurt, tired of being the reasonable one, the forgiving one, the one who always chooses duty over desire. For 8 years, I've been the good husband. Maybe it's time to find out what kind of man I am when I stop trying to be good. I'll think about it, I tell her. And from the look on her face, I can tell that's not the answer she was hoping for. Wednesday arrives gray and drizzling, the kind of weather that makes bad decisions seem inevitable. I've spent 3 days thinking about Mira's ultimatum, 3 days weighing the smart choice against the satisfying one. The smart choice is clear: cancel lunch with Selene, make an appointment with a marriage counselor, and spend the next several months trying to rebuild something that might already be beyond repair. The satisfying choice is equally clear: meet Selene for lunch and find out what she really wants. At 11:30, I'm standing in front of Meridian, the most expensive restaurant in the city, wearing my best suit and feeling like I'm about to step off a cliff. Through the windows, I can see the lunch crowd: business leaders, politicians, people who make decisions that affect thousands of lives. People like Selene Valahurst. She's already seated when I arrive, at a corner table that offers privacy while maintaining a clear view of the entire dining room. She's wearing a navy blue dress that probably costs more than my monthly salary, and she's studying the wine list with the focused attention of a general planning a battle. "Landon." She stands to greet me, and once again I'm struck by her presence. She commands attention without demanding it, the kind of natural authority that comes from years of being the most important person in any room. "Selene, thank you for inviting me." "Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would." "Why wouldn't I?" She smiles as we take our seats. "Because your wife probably told you not to." "My wife and I don't tell each other what to do." "No? How refreshingly modern of you." The waiter appears immediately, as if he's been hovering nearby, waiting for a signal. Selene orders a bottle of wine that I've never heard of, but that the waiter treats with reverence. "So," she says once we're alone again, "how was your Sunday morning?" "Eventful." I imagine it was. Mira seemed quite affected by Saturday evening. She was concerned about appearances. Was she? How interesting. Most people are only concerned about appearances when they have something to hide. The wine arrives, and Selene goes through the tasting ritual with practiced ease. She approves the selection, and the waiter pours 2 glasses before disappearing again. "Tell me about infrastructure development," I say, raising my glass. She laughs, a genuine sound that transforms her entire face. "You don't really want to discuss infrastructure, do you?" "Not particularly." "But I'm curious what you really want to discuss." "I want to discuss you, your marriage, your future." That's a broad range of topics. They're all connected. Your marriage is failing, which affects your future, which brings us to why you're here instead of in couples therapy. Her directness is both refreshing and unsettling. Most people would dance around these topics for at least the first course. "What makes you think my marriage is failing?" "Because I've been watching your wife for months and she's been behaving like a woman who's already moved on. The question is whether you've figured that out yet." "I've figured it out." "Good. That saves time." She takes a sip of wine and studies me over the rim of her glass. "The next question is what you plan to do about it." "What would you suggest?" "That depends on what you want." "What do you think I want?" "I think you want to feel relevant again, valued, desired. I think you want to remember what it's like to be the most important person in someone's life." She's not wrong. For months, I felt like a supporting character in my own life, watching from the sidelines while Mira pursued her own interests and desires. "And you think you can provide that?" "I think I already have. Saturday night, you were the most interesting man in that ballroom, not because of anything you did, but because of how you carried yourself when someone was actually paying attention to you." The waiter returns to take our lunch orders. Selene chooses something light and elegant. I order the first thing I see on the menu, too distracted by the conversation to focus on food. "Why me?" I ask once we're alone again. "Why not you?" That's not an answer. Isn't it? You're intelligent, attractive, successful in your field. You're married to someone who doesn't appreciate what she has. Why wouldn't I be interested? Because you barely know me. I know enough. I know you're loyal, or you would have left Mira months ago. I know you're patient, or you wouldn't have put up with her behavior for this long. And I know you're ready for something different, or you wouldn't be here. What about your husband? What about him? Doesn't he factor into this equation? Adrian and I have an understanding. We've been married for 15 years, and we've learned to give each other space to pursue our individual interests. He knows you're here. He knows I'm having lunch with you. He doesn't know what we're discussing, but he trusts my judgment. And if he knew what we were discussing, he'd probably approve. Adrian likes you. The food arrives, but neither of us seems particularly interested in eating. The conversation has taken on a momentum of its own, carrying us toward conclusions I'm not sure I'm ready for. Selene, what exactly are you proposing? I'm proposing that we explore what might develop between us. No commitments, no promises, just the opportunity to see where this leads. While I'm still married. While you're still technically married to someone who's already exploring her own options. She's right about that. Mira may not have crossed the final line with Darius yet, but she's been preparing to. The hotel rooms, the new clothes, the emotional intimacy. She's been having an affair in everything but the most literal sense. What would this exploration involve? Dinner, conversation, time spent getting to know each other better. Nothing more than what any two adults might do when they're interested in each other. And if it develops into something more, then we'll deal with that when it happens. My phone buzzes with a text message. Mira, how's your infrastructure lunch going? I show the message to Selene, who smiles. She's checking up on you. Apparently. What will you tell her? That we discussed municipal water systems and bond financing. Will she believe you? Probably not. Good. A little uncertainty will do her good. I type back a brief response. Very informative. Home by 6. You're enjoying this, Selene observes. Enjoying what? Having the power for once, being the one with secrets. She's not wrong. For months, I've been the one wondering where Mira was, what she was doing, who she was with. Now the tables are turned, and I have to admit there's satisfaction in that reversal. Is that why you invited me to lunch? To give me power over my wife? I invited you to lunch because I find you interesting. The power dynamic is just a pleasant side effect. For who? For both of us. You get to feel relevant again, and I get to watch Mira squirm. You don't like my wife. I don't like employees who think they're smarter than their employers. Mira has been using company resources for personal business, lying about her activities, and generally behaving like someone who believes the rules don't apply to her. Company resources, conference rooms for personal phone calls, company time for personal meetings, and she's been indiscreet about her relationship with Darius. How indiscreet? Indiscreet enough that half the office knows about it, which reflects poorly on the company's professional standards. So this isn't just about personal attraction or social games. This is about business, about maintaining control over her employees and her company's reputation. Are you planning to fire her? That depends on several factors. Such as whether she ends her inappropriate relationship with Darius, whether she can refocus on her actual job responsibilities, and whether she continues to disrespect her marriage. And my having lunch with you affects these factors how? It reminds her that actions have consequences, that she's not the only one with options. So I'm a tool in your management strategy. You're a man I'm interested in getting to know better. The fact that it also serves other purposes is just efficient multitasking. The waiter returns to clear our barely touched plates and offer dessert. Selene declines. I follow her lead. I should get back to work, I say. Of course. Thank you for lunch, Landon. I enjoyed our conversation. So did I. Good. I hope we can do it again soon. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. Opportunities like this don't wait forever. She signals for the check, and I realize the lunch is ending without any dramatic declarations or explicit propositions. Just two people who've acknowledged a mutual attraction and agreed to explore where it might lead. Simple, adult, and completely terrifying. Outside the restaurant, Selene's driver is waiting with a black sedan that screams executive privilege. She pauses before getting in. Landon, can I give you some advice? Sure. Don't let loyalty to a failing marriage prevent you from pursuing happiness. Life is short, and regret lasts forever. She gets in the car and is gone, leaving me standing on the sidewalk in the drizzle, thinking about loyalty and happiness and the difference between the two. My phone rings. Mira. Hi. Hi. How was lunch? Fine. Educational. Learn anything interesting about infrastructure? A few things. Good. I was thinking we could have dinner together tonight. Actually, talk about things. What kind of things? Our conversation on Sunday. What we want to do about counseling. About us. Okay. What time? 7. I'll cook. Mira hasn't cooked dinner in months. This is clearly part of her campaign to save our marriage, to pull me back from whatever precipice she thinks I'm approaching. Sounds good. I'll see you at 7. Landon? Yes? I love you. She hangs up before I can respond, which is probably for the best, because I'm not sure what I would have said. The drive back to work takes me through the downtown business district, past the Hilton where my wife has been conducting her not-quite affair, past the building where Selene Valahurst is probably already planning our next encounter. At a red light, I catch my reflection in the rearview mirror. I look like a man who's standing at a crossroads, trying to decide which direction leads to happiness and which leads to disaster. The problem is, I'm no longer sure there's a difference. Tonight, Mira will cook dinner and we'll talk about counseling and commitment and giving our marriage another chance. She'll be charming and apologetic and full of promises about how things can be different. And I'll have to decide whether I believe her, whether I want to believe her, or whether I've already moved past the point where it matters. The light turns green, and I drive toward whatever comes next, knowing that by tomorrow, everything will be different. The only question is whether it will be different in a way I can live with. Dinner smelled like garlic and panic. Mira had laid the table like a peace offering, candles, roast chicken, the good plates we never used. She smiled too brightly when I walked in. So, she said, pouring wine with a trembling hand, I called a couples therapist. We can start next week. I told Darius it's over. I want to fix this, Landon. I studied her for a long moment, then set my phone face up between us. On the screen, a live video call was already connected. Selene in her office, Adrian beside her, and, just over Selene's shoulder, Darius standing rigidly, pale. Landon, what is this? Selene's voice came smooth through the speaker. Team meeting, Mira, performance, ethics, misuse of company time, and apparently, hotel loyalty points. Adrian folded his hands. You've put us in a difficult position. Mira looked from the screen to me, eyes huge. You blindsided me. No, I said quietly. You did that to yourself. I'm just making sure there's a witness this time. I slid a manila envelope onto the table, printed emails, hotel receipts, a signed retainer from a divorce attorney. Tonight, I said, you get to choose which relationship you want to save, your job or your affair. Just don't bother choosing me.